Thanks for tuning in to Keeping It WV, where we like to talk to local people, business owners, about things that us West Virginians hold near and dear to our hearts. This is the third episode of Campfire Conversations with Tim Senic from Roy's RV. Tim, we've been talking here a couple times, and the lines that you have, the RV lines that you have, you're pretty happy and pretty pleased with what you've got. We talked about the Jayco's. Jayco's probably one of the top selling RV campers around. Am I right? Or
yeah, they've been the number one. Their J-Flight line has been the number one selling line in America since 2005, and it's continuing running. But yeah, Jayco's a very, very high quality piece. We've kind of always tried to keep our lines with the companies that fit the way we do business. Those companies that really do care. The companies that take that extra time to make their trailers they want their customers to have a good camping experience just like we do. There's manufacturers out there that really don't care. They just want to turn product. They'll send them anywhere, don't care. As long as they're turning numbers, they don't. And then you got the companies out there that a little choosier with their dealers, want to align themselves with people that make sure that the end user's having a good time with it. And this goes clear back to the days we were in Harmon. The manufacturers that Roger aligned himself with back in the 70s and the 80s. The old Fleetwood company. And when I started working for Roger back in the early 90s, we had at the time he had Coleman, the Coleman pop-ups. That was a huge thing. The Coleman company was such a wonderful company. They were the number one selling pop-up there was made, and it was just such a family-oriented company. Coleman was. We just enjoyed having them around or going to a function of theirs. And so the whole Fleetwood come in and bought Coleman up, and kind of still went fine, even though Fleetwood was a bigger group. And there was a company over there we used to sell called Sunline. They're not in business anymore. They were too small, and they just got to where they couldn't compete with all these big manufacturers. But Sunline was another neat kind of family-owned RV company that really cared, and so we always kind of did that. So, when we got with Jayco in 2005, it was kind of a tough sell for them for a little bit, even though the Jayco name was such a good name. They were going through the RV industry in the early 2000s, went through a little bit of a rough spot. And I remember when we were looking at, our Jayco rep, his name was Dave Ish. He's still with Jayco to this day. He's one of the uppers now, but he was the rep at the time. And he come calling in here, I know, 3, 4, 5 times. And, all my other, his competition, all the other lines we were selling, their reps were telling me, oh my, you don't want Jayco. Jayco's got like 700 units sitting in their yard right now they're trying to get rid of, and all this stuff. But that rep, Dave, he had been in the RV business for a while, and he truly believed, Jayco was such a strong name. They've been around forever, longer than we have. And he'd been around it, and he knows that, the Bontraggers, and he knew that company, and he was like, every RV company had went through a rough spot. We're going to be the first ones to come out of it, because we have set ourselves on total quality, and revamping to what the people actually want. And he was so believable. I get sales reps in and out here all the time. It's like with our people, our salespeople, none of them really ever sold anything. I don't have nothing against salespeople at all. There's some great salespeople out there, but they're just genuine guys who help people pick something out. Well, that was kind of Dave. He wasn't trying to so much sell me. He truly believed. And even though my other people was telling me, they've got all these trailers, I was like, they're on to something. So in 2005, we picked Jayco up, and they have been the number one seller since 2005. That J-Flight line has been the number one selling trailer in America. And it's because Jayco's just a wonderful, wonderful company. We touched on a little bit in our last podcast that, these things aren't like cars. Cars, there's a small window of what's better and what's not. You got your Ford people and your Ram people and your Chevy people. But if you put them all in a box, they're all good. They're regulated so hard. Auto industry wise, you're not going to get a bad vehicle. In the camping business, that ain't true.
Right.
There's a spectrum from high quality so you might as well stay in the tent. I mean, there's some real bad product out there on the market, and a lot of times new buyers don't understand that, and it's terrible, because then they buy that thing and it falls apart on them and they get out of camping, you know. So we really try to align ourselves with the top tier bunch. You know, right now we've got Jayco. We're the largest Jayco dealer in West Virginia. We've got Winnebago, which we just took on. We're the only Winnebago dealer in West Virginia, and everybody knows Winnebago's name and their heritage. We're a Grand Design dealer, which Grand Design has pretty much took the world over in camping, and they are now owned by Winnebago. They're aligned with them now. So just having those three, and then you branch on down with our Coachman line and our Wildwood line, we try to stay in the stuff that's going to give a person a positive first-time experience, and have the stuff up for the people who's camped for 30 years, you know, that keep finding, oh, I want this now, and I want this little feature, and I want this base and this extra slide out. We try to offer something for everyone, but yet we really try not to lose focus on the fact that there's some really good product out there and there's some really scary product out there, and we stay away from the scary product. We don't get into that, you know, some of the stuff that's sold on the internet, and yeah, no, there's nothing here you're buying that's going to be bad quality.
Right. So my background is in the auto industry. I ran a car dealership for a long time, and I spent over 20 years in the car industry. So when you say that the car, and you know, you look and you say that just about everything's the same, it is. Everything is so regulated with the government, and you talk about salespeople. And when I was young in the car business, there was a guy that was just what I would call so smooth, right? So smooth that you think that he's messing you over when he wasn't, right? And your mentality is, I don't want that sales mentality. You want somebody that's a down-to-earth person that knows the industry, knows the campers that they're selling, but's not pushy and not that for lack of a better term, a sleazy salesperson, right? Because you're trying to build, you wouldn't been in 51 years, you've been in business for, you know, Roy's been around for 51 years. You didn't get to that point by having people hate you.
Right.
Right? So longevity in the business, or in any business, so to speak, is the way you treat your people. Your customers, your people that work for you and stuff like that. So it is nice to see that you went that way, and when you throw the quality of the Jaycos, and Winnebago was perfect for coining the RV, right? If you've seen an RV, it wasn't I seen an RV, it's I seen a Winnebago.
Right.
Right. I mean, that was how it was, you know.
And Winnebago is very selective on who they take as dealers. They didn't even have a dealer in the state of West Virginia for several years, not because that they didn't want to have a dealer in West Virginia. They're just very careful who they pair up with. And when we got talking with them and they researched our history and who we are and how we do things on the service side, sales side, it was a good fit. They picked us and they wanted us to have their product here. So we're hoping to grow that line along with our Jayco and our Grand Design. But you know, with the salesperson thing, you're right. Our salespeople aren't, none of them are trained salespeople. They're just people who enjoy helping people pick something out. That's our job. It's not to talk someone into anything.
Right.
Our job is just we know we've got the good product, is to help them pick what fits them. There's no pitches, there's no pushiness, there's nothing. It's come and look, and we will help you with our experience. We're going to help you pick what we hope is what you want, you know. But we don't push them. We let them pick what they want, and we explain how stuff works and the options, and we go from there. I mean, when I started in Harmon selling, you know, I worked in the shop for a few years and helped Roger set houses for a few years till it was the 95 or so when I started in the sales side. I never sold anything, you know. I'm just an old farm boy. I'd not sold anything, but I wanted to help people pick out the unit when they left, to be like, this is the right one. This is what we wanted. This isn't what that kid talked me into, you know. Yeah. And so, and I was the only salesperson for a long time over there, and I'd meet people on Sundays at night. It didn't really matter. I lived where I could walk to the lot in 5 minutes. So I spent a lot of time there with people after hours and with flashlights and, you know, whatnot. But it was always, so when we came in here, and I started becoming more in charge of things, that's what I wanted my salespeople to be. I started hiring them in Harmon, and we're just not that business that's going to talk you into anything. We just want you to come. We've got good stuff. Come pick what you want. We'll give you the best price we can give you and make sure you have a good camping experience. That's it.
I used to say this a lot of times. People want to buy things. They don't want to be sold things. And that mentality is exactly kind of what you're saying. You go in, you say, listen, here's what we got, but I'm not going to sell something to you that you may not want.
Yeah.
Right? People want what they want. And it looks like with all the lines that you have, just about anything that you would want in a camper is out there.
We have many lines. We were growing our lines all through the 2000s, 2010s. We were growing our lines. Got to where we really had too many lines. We got through a spell where, you know, we needed some of the low down cheap stuff, and we cycled through that one summer and realized, no, that's not what our company's about, because they just aren't the quality that we want. So we cycled them through, and we've got many lines right now. I mean, we got more lines than any dealer in the state, but yet we focus on those 3 or 4, and eventually we'll get back probably to where we have our 5 or 6 main lines, and we just want the good stuff. That's our whole process right now, is trying to have the good lines to where we got the backing from the companies who will back us and actually will cover the warranty that they state. You know, you got to be careful with a lot of these warranties on these units that they don't actually work the way the sticker on the side of it says. You got to read the fine print, and so we try to stay with the companies who will stand behind us if someone is having an issue with something, because a lot of times, you know, and this is for all the dealers, not just us. You know, a lot of time the dealer is trying to do the right thing. If a customer's having a problem, the dealer's trying to do the right thing. There's very few dealers, especially in our area. The dealers are going to try to do the right thing for you, but a lot of times their hands are tied by the company that's backing them, and so we've concentrated on trying to get those companies who truly stand behind their product. What they state on their warranty is their warranty, and when we call them 9 months in and the customer's got a small problem, they're not trying to blame it off on something the customer did or get out of paying it. It just makes the comfort level of the customer better when they know, hey, this warranty is what this warranty states. Ruiz will do everything they can do for me. We don't like people being mad.
So with that mentality that you know we're talking about, Tim, you know, with the salespeople and all that, and the lines of, that's what's made you the West Virginia's RV giant. You know, the ability to stand out and have a quality product and have I don't want to say it, a non-invasive sales technique. You know, no pressure selling. The no pressure selling I think has been a little played out. I mean, I think people say no pressure and they hear no pressure, they call whatever. That's not, you know, they come in the early 90s, Saturn cars come out with a no haggle pricing, right? And the no haggle pricing, when someone went to buy a car, the no haggle pricing, you lost them. Because they wanted to come in, they wanted to negotiate, right? So I think some of those phrases that have been coined over the years have been played out, that you can say no haggle pricing, or you can say no pressure, and people's like, whatever, they don't believe it. But it truly is what happens here, right? There's no in your face, no, I'm gonna put you in the box, so to speak, to where you have to buy or not. It's presenting a product that's quality and letting the consumer decide that they want to buy it, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. We want them to get what they want.
Right.
And we have confidence in our product, so there's no use to push them one way or the other. It's really about letting them and their family pick what they need to go wherever they're going to go, and it can be, like I say, there's the weekend campers, there's full-time campers, there's people living in them to work. You know, and you touched on the whole RV Giant thing. You know, we designed the Giant as a kind of a symbol for that we have a great selection of product. The Giant wasn't, we never wanted to use the Giant as a look how big and great we are type thing. Right. It's the, you know, in Elkins, you know, a lot of people would think, you know, we've been the #1 selling RV dealer in West Virginia now since 2019. We've always been at the top. We've been #1 before that, but we've been the last 3 years. Even when we was in Harmon at that little location, that little tiny location in the seems like the end of the earth over on the other side of the county. We had built up coming off of that lot. We were a top 5 dealer. And so the Giant is more, we use that as a marketing tool to help people remember, you know, okay, Elkins isn't the biggest town, but they got a big RV dealer that we get a lot of choices over there at, you know, and it was fun. I always kind of wanted to have a Giant and do him in a cartoon, and, you know, the whole idea of it I thought was going to be a fun, lighthearted way to do things. But, you know, we're never worried about being the biggest. We've sold the most of the last 3 years. We've been number 1 in the state. We don't really hang our hat on that. You know, we're not looking at numbers all the time trying to figure out. We're just here. We have good product, and if you come here and shop, we will make sure you get what you want. And I think, you know, that's how it should be. I think that is what separates us from a lot of dealers, and most RV dealers are. They're all good people. Some of the big corporate ones did a little bit different mentality, but your independent dealers are all trying their best, you know, and it's just, we've got the experience. We've done this for 50 years. I've done it for 20 some, and I got all the wealth from Roger, who's done this for 51 years.
Right.
And so there's things we've seen that we can make sure that doesn't turn into a bad camping experience for you. We ain't perfect, but we're always trying, and even 51 years in, we learn something new every day. So,
well, you know, to quote Charles Barkley, if you're not getting any better, you're getting worse.
Yeah.
And I laughed when I first heard that, but that's exactly the truth, you know. And like you said, you're learning something new every day. So if you're not evolving and getting better every day, then then you're going to be left behind, and you're not going to help the people, your customers, your customer base. You know, like you said, someone comes here looking for a camper. If they're looking for a camper, you guys are going to do what they want and what they need, so that they're happy and they have a good, enjoyable experience. Because nothing's worse than purchasing something and saying, okay, I'm gonna go camping or whatever it is. And we're talking about campers here, right? You go to the campground and you have a bad experience.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, that person misses out on, in my opinion, as far as a family goes, the best family time, you know, because we don't live at a beach where we can take off and we can go an hour drive to the beach and spend a day at the beach or whatever. Like, we use our camping time as a weekend thing. We'll leave on a Friday evening, Friday afternoon. We're at a campground set up Friday evening. We stay Friday night, Saturday night, and we come home on Sunday. It's something that we can do as a family. And most of the time when we go camping, there aren't cell service. There isn't places that you know what I mean? So if I were to buy for lack of a better term, a cheap built camper from somebody, right? And I go to a campground and it's cheap made. Now my experience and my kids' experience, my wife's experience is minimized, and next thing you know, I'm getting rid of my camper and I'm missing out on a something that me and my family has done for, you know, my daughter's 23 years old, that we've done for more than 23 years, you know. So the mentality, like you said, a good quality product at a good price, that's the key. And when we brought up the Giant, it's exactly right. It's not that you're bigger and better you're not standing there pounding your chest. It's that you've got a large selection of quality products. So that's what the Giant, you know, when I bring it up, that's what I meant by it. I didn't mean by, you know.
Right. And even when we designed that Giant, you know, anyone that's seen it, I've had some people say, well, he's a Giant, but he just looks too nice. You know, a Giant's supposed to be great, big, and burly, and this and that, but that's just really not what we were going after. We want, you know, we want to show that we have a Giant inventory and all that, but it's also, we want to show that friendly side that we do care. You know, like I said, there's nobody that's perfect. We work really hard to keep all of our stuff on the road, keep everybody happy. It's been tough during COVID, the parts shortages, and there's just been so many things we've had to work out with our customers. We've changed some personnel around, moved some people. We're always trying to do what we can do to get things right. But it's like any team. You know, you brought up Charles Barkley, and it's like, you know, you take a team sometimes you got to have the right people in the right places to make things work. And we've had times where we've struggled a little, and we've had times where we've been just spot on, but we're always trying to get to that spot on, and we never quit care. And there's not anyone that, we always care. We want our people to have a good time, as little as problems as possible, and we don't like it when someone didn't have a good weekend.
Right. Well, if you don't like it, they don't like it. They'll never, they don't want to enjoy it. And to me, camping is one of those things that I hold near and dear. My wife, it drives her crazy because I could be at a campground every weekend, and she's like, there's stuff that needs to be done at the house this weekend. Yeah, but can we not go camping? Yeah. All right, so that is towards the end. We got the one question, right? Choose a number between 1 and 10.
All right, I'll take, give me 7.
All right. So I'm actually going to give you this one.
All right.
All right. If you could pick a historical era to live in, which one would it be and why?
A historical era to live in. Oh, wow. I would probably say, if I can't be in this time, I'd probably 70s. I'd probably be in the 70s because I'm a gearhead. Love cars, bikes, and that was like the muscle car era. That's where it's all come about. I like the 50s and 60s cars, but the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, growing up, my dad and my uncle, they were kind of that age where that was their era. And I used to sit there and look at their cars. My uncle had a couple of nice cars, and my dad had some Chevelles and some Camaras, and my dad had some nice Novas, and I don't know, that would probably be, I can't think of really any other reason other than cars that, I wouldn't have wanted to be in the late 70s or in the 80s because those cars were terrible, but I think the 70s was early 70s.
And it goes back to what the whole conversation we're having is the culture, right? That's why you got into this culture, or in this business, because of the culture that you grew up in. My son, he swears, he's 20, he'll be 21, but he swears that he would have loved to grown up in the 50s.
Yeah.
Because things were so calm in the 50s.
And that was my other thought. That was where I was debating, because it does seem like when you look back and you hear the stories from your parents and your aunts and your uncles and whatnot, of just how calm and just a much more slow lifestyle they had. But like I said, being a car guy, I remember some of my childhood memories are from, I can remember what cars. I can't remember the exact year, but I know what car like my uncle had and my dad had. My dad had an old Dodge Challenger, which it was a plum crazy purple with the black vinyl roof on it, and I just remember that car. I can see it sitting here now. And
if you had that car right now, whew.
Yeah, oh my, and it's just stuff like that if I could go back and had to live in a certain era, I might as well pick an era with fast cars.
Might as well. I think my favorite car of all time, and we'll wrap it up, my favorite car of all time, it's 3 years, and they're real similar, 67, 68, 69 Camaros.
Yeah.
I love those cars. I had a friend of mine when I was in high school, he had a 68 Camaro, and him and his dad built it together, and he thought that they were building it to sell it, and when he built it, his dad gave it to him when he was 16.
Yeah.
And it was one of them cars, I just loved it. Nice looking car, and we make the joke, it was totaled. He totaled it on Halloween night, and it was a vet hit him.
Oh my.
Yeah, a she-vet.
Oh, that's okay. That changes the story.
Yeah, a Chevette hit him, and that was the joke. And you get hit by a Camaro got hit by a vet, but it was a she-vet, right?
The Chevette probably shouldn't have done that much damage.
The problem was
they didn't go fast enough to do much damage.
But it was so old, it totaled it. I mean, he could have taken it and redone it, but it was, it was in like 89, 88, 89, so the car was 20 years old, and it kind of broke all of our hearts as his friends, because we had friends that had Le Mans, 68, 69 Le Mans, and they were back in they liked those older cars, and when it got totaled that easily, it kind of broke all of our hearts because him and his dad built it up and stuff, and it didn't look like a whole lot of damage, but whatever. So that will conclude this episode. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and you stay classy, West Virginia.